The security line at Denver International Airport hummed with the restless energy of early morning travelers, but one voice sliced through the white noise like a rusty blade. Let's move it. People, I don't stand in cattle lines. Clear the way for executive status. Todd Whitman's bark carried down the concourse, a theatrical flourish meant for anyone within earshot. His cashmere overcoat flapped behind him as if it too had someplace more important to be. Marcus Carter heard the commotion long before he saw its source. He stood a few paces back, hands resting on the telescoping handle of a scuffed aluminum carry-on. A charcoal suit hung perfectly across his 6-foot frame, yet nothing about his posture announced power. He studied checkpoints, watched agents greet passengers, mentally logged the pace of each queue. Marcus traveled incognito whenever he could, no entourage, no priority escort. Because anonymity offered the clearest lens into how his company treated everyday customers. 12 years earlier, he had founded Ascension Airways with a single lease jet, a dozen employees, and a promise to elevate every soul who stepped onto one of his flights. Now Ascension spanned 4 continents, but Marcus still chased unfiltered truth one boarding pass at a time. Today's itinerary was simple. Flight 312 from Denver to Toronto for a pivotal codeshare negotiation that could double Ascension's transatlantic reach. On paper, he was M. Carter, Seat 1A. In reality, he was the airline's president and chief executive officer, though only 3 people in the entire terminal knew that fact, and none of them worked the gate. Todd Whitman finally reached the TSA agent, slapped down his embossed ticket, and declared, "First class, obviously. Make it quick." The agent's expression didn't flicker. "Sir, please remove your laptop." Todd sighed dramatically, eyes scanning for an audience. He spotted Marcus observing from the next lane and flashed an insincere smile. "Rough world when frequent flyers like us have to mingle with the masses, right?" he said loudly, emphasizing us, as if it were a secret club of people who looked just like him. Marcus offered a polite nod, nothing more. The metal detector beeped when Todd strode through wearing a steel-buckled belt he'd refused to remove. He blamed the machine, the agent, then incompetent government hiring quotas in a single breath. Marcus watched the tantrum without comment, noting faces around them. A Latina mother hugging her son's shoulders, an elderly white couple exchanging embarrassed glances, a teenage barista gripping her airport coffee stand apron with both fists. Each person reacted to Todd's contempt in miniature ways, cataloged forever in that invisible ledger Marcus carried inside his head. At gate A27, the boarding area bustled. Ascension's cobalt and silver livery gleamed outside panoramic windows. Marcus lingered near the counter, studying how Agent Juliana Tran greeted a nervous first-time traveler, how ramp lead Abdul Nasser scanned the tarmac for de-ice trucks, how every moving piece aligned or clashed. Quality was choreography. One missed beat rippled outward. Todd strode to the podium. "Priority passenger, Seat 1A, he announced, flinging his ticket like a royal decree. Juliana glanced down. "I have you in 1B, Mr. Whitman." Todd's lip curled. "Check again. I always fly 1A for feng shui." "I'm afraid 1A is assigned," she said. "To whom?" "I can't share another customer's data, sir," Juliana replied. Todd leaned closer as if proximity equaled power. "Look, sweetheart, you're new, so I'll educate you. People like me pay your paycheck. Swap the seat." Juliana's smile never faltered. "I'm sorry, Mr. Whitman. Ascension's policy." "Policy," Todd scoffed. "Policy is flexible when revenue's involved." He jabbed a manicured finger toward Marcus, who had stepped forward to board with Group 1. "Put that guy in coach. He looks comfortable with less legroom." Marcus felt every nearby gaze tilt toward him. He offered Todd a courteous half-smile, then handed Juliana his boarding pass. The scanner chimed green. Todd's eyes narrowed. "Seriously?" "They gave 1A to him," he said, volume rising. "Buddy, business class is that way. This is the executive cabin." Marcus met Todd's stare, voice calm. "I believe I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Todd laughed, sharp, performative. "Right. And I'm the Prince of Wales. Enjoy your free champagne upgrade, pal." He turned back to Juliana. "Fix it." Before Juliana could respond, boarding commenced. Marcus moved down the jet bridge, Todd's indignant complaints echoing behind him. Inside the Airbus A3-2-1 Neo, the scent of orange blossom and leather, Ascension's signature cabin fragrance, floated above the hush of conditioned air. Marcus paused just inside first class, greeting flight attendant Elena Kuznetsova with a nod that said, "Thank you for treating me like any other passenger." Row 1 awaited. Marcus placed his briefcase overhead, slid into 1A, and vanished behind a newspaper. Todd stormed on board moments later, coat dragging across seated passengers' knees. He stopped at row 1, disbelief etched into every creased line of his forehead. Out, he announced. Marcus turned a page. Pardon, you heard me. That's my seat. It isn't. Todd leaned so close Marcus could smell his cologne, something expensive that somehow still reeked of insecurity. Listen, man, he whispered just loud enough for rows 2 and 3 to overhear. I know you people try to game the system with fake boarding passes. Elena appeared instantly. Mr. Whitman, can I help? Yes, you can escort this gentleman back to the coach where he belongs. Todd straightened, reclaiming full volume. He forged his ticket. Elena glanced at Marcus's pass, then Todd's, then back. Everything is correct. You're 1B, Mr. Whitman. Todd flushed crimson. Impossible. He spun toward passengers now peering over seatbacks with phones half raised. Folks, this is fraud. First class is being stolen in plain sight. The phrase tumbled from his mouth with the glee of manufactured outrage. Marcus folded the newspaper, placed it in his lap, and studied Todd's face. He saw exactly what Todd wanted, a confrontation to validate bigotry, a scene bright enough to fuel dinner party stories about entitlement run amok. But Marcus had other plans. I understand your frustration, he said evenly. Would you like to trade seats? I'm happy with 1B. Todd sneered. What's the catch? No catch. Elena startled, but Marcus's subtle nod told her to allow it. She printed new slips, exchanged them quietly. Todd collapsed into 1A with a grunt of triumph, spread his elbows across both armrests like a conquering general, and opened his phone to social media. Within minutes, a live video appeared under the tag #SkyHighScam. Todd's front-facing camera captured half his grinning face and half Marcus settling into 1B. Friends, he began. You are not going to believe what just happened. Some individuals used a bootleg ticket generator to steal my seat. Don't worry, I handled it. Marcus stared at the bulkhead, unaffected, but his pulse hummed. He had tolerated slights before. Sooner or later truth emerged. Patience, he reminded himself. The door was closed. Push back. Climb. Seatbelt signs winked off. Elena distributed drinks. Todd insisted on a second whiskey before the first melted. He chatted loudly with Seat 2C about golf memberships and inner-city welfare flights. Marcus typed notes on his tablet, mapping service inefficiencies. Drinks took 7 minutes longer today. Catering carts needed restock. But his attention shifted each time Todd's voice rose. At 37,000 feet, turbulence jostled the cabin. Todd's phone slipped beneath his seat. He bent, retrieved it, and froze. Jammed between the seat rails lay a slim monogrammed folio Marcus had been reading earlier. Ascension Airways Executive Vision 2035. Todd snatched it up. He thumbed through embossed pages, strategic acquisition summaries, CEO signatures, confidential memos addressed to Marcus D. Carter, President and Chief Executive Officer. His jaw slackened. Then it spasmed into a grin, his ego twisting revelation into opportunity. The seatbelt light pinged. Todd shot to his feet anyway, holding the folio overhead. Ladies and gentlemen, I have proof this imposter is using stolen corporate documents. Gasps rippled through the cabin. Elena rushed forward. Sir, sit down. The seatbelt sign is on. Todd ignored her. He's pretending to be the CEO. Look at this forged binder. He flipped to a signed letter. Marcus Carter, huh? Everyone knows the real Ascension CEO is some boardroom billionaire, not this joker. Marcus stood slowly. The plane lurched, but he balanced easily. Mr. Whitman, please give that back. Todd shoved the folio against Marcus's chest. Admit you're a fraud, refund my ticket, and maybe I won't sue. A collective hush descended. Passengers filmed openly now, lenses glinting like tiny spotlights. Marcus inhaled the cool, recirculated air. Years of disciplined leadership flowed into one decisive exhale. Very well, he said. Then he pressed the call button. Moments later, Captain Rosa Delgado emerged from the cockpit, graying temples framing eyes that left no room for nonsense. What seems to be the emergency? Todd puffed out his chest. Captain, this man is impersonating Ascension's CEO and endangering your brand. Captain Delgado regarded Marcus with subtle deference. Mr. Carter, would you like to handle this, or shall I? A murmur swept through first class. Todd's head jerked. Wait, what did you call him? The truth, Marcus replied, voice level yet carrying to row 5. I am Marcus Carter. I built this airline, from cracked runways in Tuskegee to the transpolar routes over Greenland. I also designed Seat 1A to cradle the spine at 45,000 feet, but I suppose you discovered that comfort firsthand. Todd's complexion faded from red to ash. No, that's impossible. Ascension's CEO is, he fumbled for an answer he'd never bothered to know. Captain Delgado addressed the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, please excuse the disturbance. We will resume normal service. Then, quietly to Todd, Sir, sit down. You are in violation of multiple FAA regulations and our own conduct policy. But gravity had already shifted. Phones vibrated with real-time notifications. Internet searched, Marcus Carter Ascension, pulled up magazine covers featuring the same poised man, now standing in row 1. Twitter feeds erupted. Someone in 3A had live posted the confrontation, and it was rocketing toward trend status. Todd slumped into 1A as though the seat dissolved beneath him. Marcus reclaimed his folio, tucked it away, and thanked Elena for her professionalism. For 20 long minutes, silence reigned. Then, at cruising altitude steady hum, a different kind of turbulence began, digital, unstoppable. Todd's employer, Jasper Aero Logistics, issued a terse statement. We do not condone discriminatory behavior. Mr. Whitman's employment is under immediate review. Airlines sharing Ascension's terminal gates retweeted in solidarity. Todd's phone, once a megaphone, became an executioner's drum. Group chats exploded with disbelief and scorn. A LinkedIn connection count ticked downward in real time. He stared, horrified, at his own livestream replay and finally understood that his downfall was self-authored. Marcus could have luxuriated in revenge. Instead, he opened his tablet and drafted an internal memo. Incident aboard 312 demonstrates urgency for empathy training across alliance partners. He recommended scholarships for aviation students from marginalized backgrounds, sponsored by savings reallocated from executive bonuses, starting with his own. When the flight began its descent into Toronto, Captain Delgado announced, Ascension leadership would like to thank our guests for grace and patience. We are honored to serve you. Her emphasis on leadership left no doubt about who she meant. Police met the aircraft at the gate, but Marcus intervened. He asked that Todd be escorted off quietly. No cuffs, no press present. Mercy, he believed, was also power. Todd stumbled down the jetway, trailed by the smoldering wreckage of a reputation. The conference in Toronto concluded 2 days later with a historic alliance that granted Ascension 20 new European slots. Reporters pressed Marcus for comment about the Whitman incident. He said only, Ascension lifts everyone willing to rise. Back in Denver a week later, under fluorescent courtroom lights, Todd faced civil charges for defamation and interference with aviation operations. The judge ordered restitution, mandated diversity education, and pronounced a sentence that fit the era: 1,000 hours of community service at Ascension's nonprofit partner Wings of Promise. Thus it was that the man who mocked cattle lines found himself rolling suitcases for elderly veterans on holiday flights, wearing a neon vest emblazoned with Ascension's logo, the brand he once tried to vandalize with prejudice. Passengers sometimes recognized him from the viral clip. Most offered a nod of pity or a silent lesson. The story might have ended there, but consequences travel farther than any plane. Jasper Aero Logistics dissolved Todd's contract, vendors blacklisted him, and the country club gatehouse revoked his RFID pass. Even his prized feng shui corner office, in retrospect nothing more than a borrowed throne, now belonged to someone who greeted interns by name. Meanwhile, Ascension's share price climbed. Investors cited intangible assets, brand integrity, moral capital, leadership with vision broader than spreadsheets. Young black aviators pinned magazine cutouts of Marcus Carter to dorm room walls beside flight charts and turbine posters. They saw not merely a CEO but proof that skies are owned by those who dare to build runways. And Marcus? He boarded another anonymous flight one misty dawn, greeted staff with the gentle warmth of a man who never forgot where he started, and slipped into seat 15C coach, middle, between a nervous high school drummer and a grandmother on her first airplane ride. The drummer talked about stage fright, the grandmother about peach cobbler recipes. Marcus listened, learning once more that every altitude offers its own horizon, and that the measure of ascendancy is not height, but how many rise with you.